in Texas, right outside of Manor. If you know where Manor is and you know where Austin is. Well, it's a good thing to be here standing before you to bring you the good news of the kingdom of heaven. Almighty Yahweh is the King thereof, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. And we thank you, Father, for choosing us to bring this message to the world today. We honor you with our worship and our praise and our prayers and with our teachings, Lord. So we ask you to be blessed in what we say and do. I ask you, Lord, to go ahead and open up the hearts and minds of people who are watching and waiting, even if it's a delayed time getting it out there on the internet, because we did our best to be on time, but YouTube was slipping and sliding somehow. So, Father, just be with us tonight as we study. Everybody say, Lord, I'm hungry.
Lord, I'm hungry.
I ask you to feed me.
I ask you to feed me.
And I'm thirsty, Lord.
And I'm thirsty, Lord.
Give me living water from heaven.
Give me living water from heaven.
So I'll have plenty to give to others.
So I have plenty to give to others.
In the name of Messiah Yeshua.
And in Messiah Yeshua.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, I'm going to be seated, and if you're standing, you should be seated too. Hey, it's Larry. Back from the dead.
Oh, gosh.
It's nice seeing part of the working team back there.
Okay, how's that, Rebecca?
All righty, I'm going to bring up the Bible. All right. This week's Torah Parsha begins in Numbers chapter 4, verse 23. Or it's actually 21. No, it's actually 22. Huh? Okay, it does start in 21, and that's because the unique word that identifies this parsha is Naso, and it's in 22, but 21 is the normal opening line for each parsha. Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor, the word of Yahweh to Moses, saying. He says, take the sum of the sons of Gershom, also those throughout the houses of their fathers, by their families. First of all, I'd like to show you, there's some familiar terms here that I'd like to kind of work over with you a little bit in Hebrew. And Yahweh worded unto Moses, saying, take the sum of the sons of Gershon. Now, I've been working with Lucifina on her Hebrew, and so I'd like to give her a chance to show off a little bit of what she's learned this past week. Feel ill prepared, do you? All right, so we have the first word. And can you read that for me, Lucifina?
Yes. There we are. Vaydaber.
Vaydaber, correct. And what does Vaydaber mean?
Well, the Vav is a Vav conversive, and following that is the Yud, which can mean Yahweh, and the Vav converse. Since there's a Vav in front of the Yud, it transitions it to a completed action instead of a future tense.
Okay, I've circled the vav on the Hebrew there. Can you see that?
Yes.
And now I'm going to eliminate that vav, that circle. And the next letter of concern is Yud.
Good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the Yud.
And
I'd be better off if I told it to draw an arrow. I think I will.
it also explains as to far as who is completing the action by the word that is following, the name following, and that is Yahweh.
Okay, so right here is the backwards arrow. I'm just getting used to this newer software. I had to change my pen out. There we go. That's the Yud. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. That's the pronoun he. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm not trying to pull a wool over your eyes or anything. So we have these two are essentially pronounced vi. Vi. And then the next letter is a dalet, pronounced like the letter D. And it has an ah sound attached to it, so you would say da. That's the next sound that's made, is da. And then we have the next letter out here is a bait. That's bait. Or base, maybe. Or bait, maybe. Depends on what part of the world you're from. So, vaida be. And then the last sound in this word is a resh, which is pronounced like the letter R. So we have vai, da, ber. There are some other interesting things that we can discover using this word. We have the bait, the base, bait, that is base there. And that word in Hebrew means house. And then we have the resh. The resh is, it's like the letter R, so it's going to be pronounced R, or as Hazak would say, R. R, R, R. So anyway, the dalet, there's the dalet. That is pronounced like the letter D, like the D in door. D. So we have vai da ber. Vai da ber. So we'd say, and he, and then dalet is the letter D, and it stands for a doorway. So vai da, and then it's a doorway to the house, and the last letter is resh, and that means of poverty, or if you put God first, it becomes an inheritance. So I would say Yahweh spoke, and Yahweh's, since he is first, he is the speaker. That means that this is going to be a doorway into the house and inheritance of Yahweh. Works pretty well in context, doesn't it? And then we see Yahweh's name. And then he spoke El. So let me get some of this other stuff out. And he spoke El. So we're looking at this. There we go. So Yahweh spoke El. Did it again. I'll get used to this eventually. Okay, let me just do it this way. He spoke El. He spoke El. He spoke, this gives a direction. So he's addressing this to Moshe. There it is. So Yahweh worded to Moshe. And Lemor means more means to say. So now he's going to tell you what he told to Moses. Yeah. Okay, so he was saying, Naso. Naso is generally speaking a word that's talking about so there's a lot of ways that it's used in sentences. Nasa means to lift up or to bear up, bring forth, to carry away, to cast, contain, to desire, ease, exact, exalt, extol, fetch. Now fetch is a word that Hazak, my dog, knows. Forgive, furnish, further, give, go on, help, high, hold up. As I'm holding up my pen here in front of my my Surface Pro. So it can mean to marry, to take up, to possess. A wife, in other words. To pardon, to raise up, to receive, and oops. To be honorable, to marry, to magnify, needs, obtain. Some of these I'm not sure how they would use it in a sentence, okay, but to pardon, to receive, to regard, respect, to set up, spare, stir up, swear, take away, up, to utterly wear or yield. Okay. So that's the ways that the word naso is used in a lot of different applications. Naso is a conceptual term, and so it's not easy to nail it to. It's like trying to nail Jell-O to a tree. It doesn't hold very well. It'll slip off that nail, you know. So we're going to lift up or take up the sum, rosh. The rosh, that does not mean sum. Rosh means head. Of the sons of Gershom, B'nai Gershom. Gam means also him, those of the houses of their fathers by their families. So he's telling them he wants to take a census, is essentially what this is about. I just wanted to show you how some of these Hebrew words are just not too easy to translate. I can't seem to get the... Okay, we'll do it this way. I got it. So basically, he wanted all of the males in the household, the families. I thought I'd show you one more Hebrew word. Right here is the word. This is a little longer word than you're used to. How many syllables is that? That's a 6-syllable word.
Yep.
How do we know that? The number of vowel points. That's exactly right. So we have, there's a chamatz, which is a vowel, so that's 1. There's a holam, which is a vowel. That's 2. This is a stop sign. So, but it is counted as a end of a syllable. 3. Then we have the next one has a stop sign, but it's at the beginning of the word, so it would not be pronounced. It'd be a very short vowel. So that's 4. Then we have hirik, 5, and then shiva, the stop sign. So we have the stop sign at the beginning of the syllables are silent, so we wouldn't count that one, and we wouldn't count the one under the shin. Actually, this one would be counted because it's a short S sound here. Lamish pa pe lamish pet cho lamish 1 2 stop sign, no syllable there. Pe, that's going to be the next syllable, so that's going to be 4. There's holam, there's 5, and tam 6. 6 syllables. So you can discover how many syllables in a Hebrew word if they've got the vowel pointings there. You can count the number of vowel points you have, and it'll give you how many syllables are in the word. Now, on lamishpechotam, the lamed at the beginning is a separate word. It's normally translated to or for. You could call it a pointer towards a family. And then mish. Mish is the first syllable. Plus the lamed, that'd be 2 syllables. So we have lamishpacho. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's four syllables right there. And then the tom on the end. I don't know if my mind's in the right frame to be able to teach this. Maybe we cover it again another time. All right, so he wants all the males to be counted by their families from the age of 30 years. Shiloshim is 30. Shilosh means 3. Shiloshim, you put the multiplier on the end of it, makes it 30. So you multiply it out by 10. Then we have Shana, by 30 years, V'mala. And Mala means and upwards. You continue upwards. Ad means unto a son of Chamashim. Chamishim. And Chamashim means 50. So we got 30 years and upward until 50. And these are going to be, you will number them all that enter to perform litzvo, to perform the service, sava. See, this is the same word here, sava and litzvo, to perform or to serve, to do the work, la'avod, to do, avodah, the work. See, we've got another repeating word here, avod. Can you see that? These two words are the same word. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have Be'ohel, in the tabernacle of the Moed. What does Moed mean? Appointments, like the annual festivals. So this is the tent of the annual festivals, tent of the appointments. Verse 24, this is the service of the families of the Gershonites to serve and ulmasah in their burdens. They're picking up the things that they carry or work at. Then we come on down to the next verse, and it says, Naso, and they shall carry or burden at Yariot, the curtains, Hamishkan, of the tabernacle, at the Ohel Moed, so the tabernacle of the appointments, his coverings, and the covering of the badger skins, that alav which are on him, mil ma'ila, which are like above and beyond. And the hanging masak, the hanging pitak of the door, ohel, the tabernacle, moed, of the appointments. So we see then that there is a hanging for the opening. It's not really a door, but rather like a tent flap, a tent opening for the tabernacle or the tent of the appointments were God's appointed times. And the hangings of the court and the hangings of the door and the gate of the court, which is by the tabernacle, and on the altar, Mizbeach, Saviv, around about, the et and Meitrahim, their cords, and every of one of the instruments of their service, and all that is made for them, and so they shall serve. So what we are ending up with here, we have everything that has to do with the holy place and the components that are used in the setup of the holy place were handled by the Gershonians, the sons of Gershon. At the appointment of Aaron and his sons shall be all of the service, the sons of the Gershonites, in all their burdens, in all their service, and ye shall appoint unto them to be in charge of all of their burdens. This is the service of the families of the sons of Gershon, the Gershonim. In the tabernacle of the appointments, Umishpartam. Now this is the word shamar, right there. That showed up, right? Yeah. So the tabernacle of the congregation and their charge, the Gershonites' charge, under the hand of Ithamar. Who is Ithamar? It says he's the son of Aaron, the priest. And what does Tamar mean? Right here. Tamar means palm tree. It's a ministry of peace. We'll go down to verse 29. And I'm fixing to cut loose here, so y'all hang on to your seatbelts. The sons of Merari, what does Merar mean? Bitter. And according to their families, by their house of their fathers, you shall number them from 30 years old and upward, even unto 50 years old. You shall number them, everyone that enters. Everyone enters into the service to do the work of the tabernacle of the congregation. Well, I'm going to go ahead and change over to a little speedier way to get through this. That's going to be verse 30. So we'll take up in verse 31. The service for the tent of the meeting will be to carry the frames, crossbar bars, posts, sockets, tabernacle, also sockets of the tabernacle. Also the posts for the surrounding courtyard with their sockets, tent pegs, ropes, and other accessories, even everything having to do with their service. You are to assign particular loads to specific persons by name. This is how the Merari families are to serve in the tent of the meeting, directed by Ithamar, the son of Aaron the Cohen. Moses, Aaron, and the community leaders took a census of the descendants of Kahat by their clans and families, and all those between 30 and 50 years old who were part of the corps serving the tent tent of the appointments. Registered by families, and they were numbered 2,750. So it took that many people just to take care of the tents and the poles and the sockets and the rods and the flaps and the curtains and other things that all went involved in that the tent of the meetings, the tent of the appointments.
Oh.
Pretty interesting, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it's mind blowing.
Yep. And that was just for the tents, and that wasn't the rest of the stuff that they have to take care of. So the descendants of Kahat, by their clans and family, all those between 30 and 50 years old who were part of the corps serving the tent of the meeting, registered by their families, they numbered 2,750. And these are the ones counted from Kahat. And let's see here. These are the ones counted from Kahat, families of all those serving in the tent of the meeting, who Moshe and Aaron enumerated in keeping with the order given by Yahweh through Moses. The census of the descendants of the Gershonites by their clans and families, all those between 30 and 50 years old who were part of the corps serving the tent of the appointments, yielded 2,630. So up there we had another 2,750. That was in verse 36. These were registered by clans and families. These are the ones counted from the families of the descendants of Gershon, of all those serving in the tent of the meeting, whom Moses and Aaron enumerated in keeping in with the order given by Yahweh. The census of the families of the descendants of Merari by their clans, all those between 30 and 50 years old who were part of the corps serving the tent of the appointments, yielded 3,200, registered by their families. These are the ones counted from the families of the descendants of Merari, whom Moshe and Aaron enumerated in keeping with the order given by Yahweh through Moses. The census of the Levim, whom Moses, Aaron, and the leaders of Israel enumerated by their clans, all those between 30 and 50 years old who were part of these working to serve and working to carry loads in the tent of the meeting, yielded a total of 8,580. According to Yahweh's order, they were appointed by Moses, each one to a specific service or work, and they were also enumerated as Yahweh had ordered Moses. Yahweh said to Moses, order the people of Israel to expel from the camp everyone with Zora'at, and that's like leprosy, uncleanness in their skin. Everyone with a discharge and whoever is unclean because of touching a corpse, both male and female, you must expel. Put them outside the camp so that they won't defile their camp, where I am living among you. The people of Israel did this and put them outside the camp. These are the ones counted from the families of descendants of Merari, whom Moshe and Aaron enumerated in keeping with the order given by Yahweh. The census of the Levim, whom Moses and Aaron and the leaders of Israel enumerated by their clans and families, all those between 30 and 50 years old who were part of those working to serve and working to carry loads in the tent of the meeting, yielded a total of 8,580 persons. A lot of people. According to Adonai, Yahweh's orders, they were appointed by Moses, each one of his specific work, service, or work. They were also enumerated as Yahweh had ordered, had ordered Moses. Chapter 5. We're going to chapter 7, so we got a little ways to go yet. Yahweh said to Moses, order the people of Israel to expel from the camp everyone with Sarat, everyone with discharge, whoever is unclean because of touching a corpse, both male and female, you must expel. Put them outside the camp so they won't defile their camp, where I live among you. The people of Israel did this and put them outside the camp, and the people of Israel did what Yahweh had said to Moses. Yahweh said to Moses, tell the people of Israel, when a man or a woman commits any kind of a sin against another person and thus breaks faith with Yahweh, he incurs guilt. He must confess the sin which he has committed. He must make full restitution for his guilt, add 20% and give it to the victim of his sin. But if the person has no relative with whom restitution can be made for the guilt, then what is given in restitution for the guilt will belong to Yahweh, that is, to the Kohen, in addition to the ram of the atonement through which atonement is made for him. Every contribution which the people of Israel consecrate and present to the Kohen will belong to him. Everything an individual consecrates will be his own, to allocate among the Kohanim, but what a person gives to the Kohen will belong to the Kohen. Yahweh said to Moses, tell the people of Israel, if a man's wife goes astray and is unfaithful, that is, if another man goes to bed with her without her husband's knowledge, so that she becomes impure secretly, and there is no witness against her, and she was not caught in the act, then if a spirit of jealousy comes over him, and he is jealous of his wife, and she has become impure, or for that matter, if the spirit of jealousy comes over him, and he is jealous of his wife, and she has not become impure, he is to bring his wife to the Kohen along with the offering for her. 2 quarts of barley flour on which he has not poured olive oil or put frankincense, because it is a grain offering for jealousy, a grain offering for remembering, for recall guilt to mind. The Kohen will bring her forward and place her before Yahweh. The Kohen will put his holy water in a clay pot, and then the Kohen will make some of the dust on the floor of the tabernacle and put it in the water. The Kohen will place the woman before Yahweh, unbind the woman's hair, put the grain offering for remembering in her hands, the grain offering for jealousy, while the Kohen has in his hand the water of embitterment and cursing. The Kohen will make her swear by saying to her, if no man has gone to bed with you, if no man has gone to bed with you, if you have not gone astray to make yourself unclean while under your husband's authority, then be free from this water of embitterment and cursing. But if you have in fact gone astray while under your husband's authority and become unclean, then some man other than your husband has gone to bed with you, then the Kohen is to make the woman swear an oath that includes a curse. The Kohen will say to the woman, may Yahweh make you an object of cursing and condemnation among your people, by making your private parts shrivel and your abdomen swell up. May this water that causes the curse go into your inner parts and make your abdomen swell and your private parts shrivel up, and your woman is to respond, amen, amen. The Kohen is to write these curses on a scroll, wash them off into the water of the embitterment and cursing. The water of cursing will enter and become bitter. Now this is a picture of something spiritual taking place. The ink that was what constituted the words of the curse is washed off under water, and the water is then put into the water of embitterment, or the cursing. And make the woman drink the water of embitterment and cursing, and the water of cursing will enter her and become bitter. And the Kohen is to remove the grain offering for jealousy from the woman's hand, wave the grain offering before Yahweh, and bring it to the altar. The Kohen is to take a handful of the grain offering as its reminder portion, and make it go up in smoke on the altar, and afterwards he is to make the woman drink the water. When he has made her drink the water, then if she is unclean and has been unfaithful to her husband, the water that causes the curse will enter her and become bitter, so that her abdomen swells and her private parts shrivel up, and the woman will become an object of cursing among her people. But if the woman is not unclean, but is clean, then she will be innocent and will have children. This is the law for jealousy, when either a wife under her husband's authority goes astray and becomes unclean, or the spirit of jealousy comes over a husband, he becomes jealous of his wife, then he is to place the woman before Yahweh, and the Kohen is to deal with her in accordance with all of this law. The husband will be clear of guilt, but the wife will bear the consequences of her guilt. Now, we're reading this because the priesthood has specific jobs in the community. He's not supposed to be packing up the tents and the various other things that are part of the tents of the appointments. But he is supposed to be taking care of all these civil matters that happen between, like, a husband and his wife, or a woman in her community, or other such issues. That's his job. He is the chief justice or the chief judge among the people. And so God appointed the Cohen family to be the priesthood, and they were responsible for these higher judgment causes. Chapter 6, Yahweh said to Moses, tell the people of Israel, when either a man or a woman makes a special kind of vow, the vow of a Nazir, we know about Nazir because we studied these before, the vow of a Nazir consecrating himself to Yahweh, he is to abstain from wine and other intoxicating liquor. He is not to drink vinegar either from either source. He is not to drink grape juice. He is not to eat grapes or raisins as long as he remains a Nazir. He is to eat nothing derived from the grapevine, not even the grape skins or seeds. Throughout the period of his vow as a Nazir, he is not to shave his head until the end of time for which he has consecrated himself. And to Yahweh, he is to be holy. He is to let his hair on his head grow long. Throughout the period for which he has consecrated himself to Yahweh, he is not to approach a corpse. He is not to make himself unclean for his mother, his father, brother, or sister when they die, since he is consecration to God on his head. Throughout the time of his being a Nazir, he is holy for Yahweh. If someone next to him dies very suddenly so that he defiles his consecrated head, then he is to shave his head on the day of his purification. He is to shave it on the 7th day. On the 8th day is to bring 2 doves or 2 young pigeons to the Kohen at the entrance to the tent of the meeting. The Kohen is to prepare one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering, and thus make atonement for him inasmuch as he has sinned because of the dead person. Now, how can that be counted as a sin for him? If this person died suddenly near him and touched him, why does that make his sin?
It's not so much his sin, it's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He is contaminated.
Good.
He's contaminated. It's not that he sinned necessarily. It's to understand the context of this is to give an out for the situation.
But it's also to make the Nazir very aware of what's around him, so he can try to avoid any contamination.
Right.
So then let's define what sin is.
Well, sin
It's lawlessness.
is doing something which God has commanded you not to do, or something which was accidentally done.
Right.
At any rate, it never has anything to do with willful defiance. That is not considered to be a sin that's forgivable. So what do you do if you found yourself suddenly upset and you did something that was willful defiance?
Repent, ask for forgiveness, ask for mercy.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
That would have been more of a rebellious act.
So with these two doves, the Kohen is to prepare one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering, and thus make atonement for him, inasmuch as he sinned because of the dead person. At that same day, he is to reconsecrate his head. He is to consecrate to Yahweh the full portion of his being a Nazir by bringing a male lamb in its first year as a guilt offering, and the previous days will not be counted because his consecration became defiled. This is the law for the Nazir, which when his period of consecration is over, he is to be brought to the entrance of the tent of the meeting, where he will present his offering to Yahweh, one male lamb in its first year without defect as a burnt offering, and one female lamb in its first year without defect as a sin offering, one ram without defect as peace offerings, a basket of matzah loaves made with fine flour mixed with oil, unleavened wafers spread with olive oil, the grain offering and the drink offerings. The Kohen is to bring them before Yahweh and offer his sin offering, his burnt offering, and his ram as a sacrifice of peace offerings to Yahweh, with the basket of matzah, unleavened bread. The Kohen will also offer a grain offering and a drink offering that go with the peace offering. The Nazir will shave his consecrated head at the entrance of the tent of the meeting, and take the hair removed from his consecrated head, put it on the fire under the sacrifice of the peace offerings. When the ram has been boiled, the Kohen is to take its shoulder, one loaf of matzah from the basket, and one unleavened wafer, and place them in the hands of the Nazir after he has shaved his consecrated head. The Kohen is to wave them as a wave offering before Yahweh. This is set aside for the Kohen along with the breast for waving and the raised up thigh. That following that, the Nazir may drink wine. This is the law for the Nazir. He makes a vow for his offering to Yahweh, for his being a Nazir, in addition to anything more or for which he has sufficient means. In keeping with whatever vow he makes, he must do it according to the law of the Nazir. Adonai said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and tell them that this is how you are to bless the people of Israel. You are to say to them," Dr. Spears, are you paying attention? This is for you. Yevarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ir Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and show you his favor. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May Yahweh lift up his face toward you and give you shalom. In this way you are to put my name on the people of Israel, so that I will bless them. On the day Moses finished putting up the tabernacle, he appointed and consecrated it, all of its furnishings, the altar with its utensils. After anointing and consecrating them, the leaders of Israel, who were heads of their fathers' clans, make an offering. These were the tribal leaders in charge of those counted in the census. They brought their offering before Yahweh, 6 covered wagons and 12 oxen, a wagon for every 2 leaders and for each an oxen, and presented them in front of the tabernacle. Yahweh said to Moses, "Receive these from them, that they are to be used for the service of the tent of the meeting. Give them to the Levim, to each as needed for his duties." So Moses took the wagons and oxen and gave them to the Levim. He gave 2 wagons and 4 oxen to the descendants of Gershon, keeping with the needs of their duties. 4 wagons and 8 oxen he gave to the descendants of Merari, in keeping with the needs of their duties, directed by Ithamar, the son of Aharon, the Cohen. But to the descendants of Kahat he gave none, because their duties involved the holy articles which they carried on their shoulders. The leaders brought the offerings for dedicating the altar on the day it was anointed. The leaders brought their offering before the altar, and Yahweh said to Moses, "They are to present their offerings to dedicate the altar, each leader on his own day." Machsan, the son of Aminadab from the tribe of Yehudah, presented his offering on the first day. And so now we're going to be going into the 12 tribes and all of their dedicated offerings according to the instructions of Yahweh. I'm just going to skip on down a ways here. I think we're really already past the time that I normally set.
Well, you did start late, though.
Hmm?
You got a late start, though.
Yeah. On the 6th day, 7th day, on the 8th day, Gamaliel, the son of Padasur, leader of the descendants of Manasseh. I like to pay attention to some of these names because they're, like Gamaliel was the name of a man that taught Rav Shaul. This was the offering of Gamaliel, the son of Padasur. That was the 8th day. 10th day, 11th day, 12th day. Okay, well, we're going to call that good enough, and we'll basically come to the end of the parsha. Well, we'll call that good for tonight, and I'm glad that you joined with us and studied this parsha. I hope that it is for benefit for you. I will tell you that even these things that sound like they're just boring and repetitious and whatnot, they have a purpose and a place. They're in God's Torah. And he gave us the Torah so we could get to know him and what he likes and what he dislikes. Next week we're going to read Parsha 36, which is Baha'alotka, when you rise up, or set up, when you set up. And that'll begin in Numbers chapter 8, beginning in verse 1. So I hope to see you next week, and I hope your week goes well. And may God watch over you and keep you and protect you and bring you back to us again next Sabbath and next Tuesday evening for another Torah study class. Shalom Aleichem.
We want to thank you for joining us for another delightful evening of our Torah and Customs class. We want to invite you back to our Shabbat services, which occur Saturday morning, beginning with our 10 a.m. Bible Issues class, followed by our 11 a.m. main service with worship, liturgy, and another teaching. And remember, if you have any questions, please contact us at 512-452-8700 or ask the rabbi at tzine.org. We'll see you later. Shalom, shalom.